Ready to jump into another deep dive?
Definitely. Always up for a good mystery.
Well, get ready, because this one's a real head-scratcher. The case of Maxine Danner.
Ah, yeah, that one really stuck with me. Tragic case. 2021, right?
Yep, and it's still unsolved. It's, one of those stories that just grabs you.
Social worker dedicated to helping victims of violence ends up, well,
Yeah, becoming a victim herself. The irony is just, it's just awful.
really makes you think.
And there are so many twists and turns, a mysterious figure caught on camera, possible connections to her work, all the elements of a real thriller.
It's like something out of a TV show, but sadly, this was all too real.
So let's start, I guess, with Maxine herself. Who was she?
Well, she was young, only 33, and super involved in her community, volunteering, the whole 9 yards.
Everyone said she was just a bright light, just a really good person.
Exactly, and that's what makes it even more heartbreaking. She poured her heart into her work as a social worker, advocating for victims of domestic violence.
So then walk me through what happened. What did the crime scene look like?
It was in her own living room, and it was a mess. Furniture overturned, things broken, there was a real struggle.
So someone definitely forced their way in, or at least things got pretty violent.
Yeah, the scene definitely pointed to a confrontation, some sort of fight.
And then there's the cause of death. It was pretty brutal.
Yeah, multiple stab wounds, mostly concentrated on her upper body and neck. That kind of suggests a personal element to the attack.
So not a random act then?
Seems unlikely. The brutality of it, the placement of the wounds, it all points to something more targeted, like a personal vendetta.
And of course, everyone's first thought was the ex-boyfriend, right?
Naturally. They had had let's say, a difficult breakup a few months before.
Messy, yeah. There were even some restraining orders involved.
So he was immediately a person of interest. But
he had an alibi?
Yeah, airtight alibi. He was completely ruled out.
Okay, so scratch that theory. So what about the night of the murder? What do we know?
Well, a few neighbors reported hearing, thuds and maybe some muffled screams, but
nobody called the police.
Unfortunately, no. It wasn't until the next morning when her current boyfriend went to check on her that she was found.
Awful. So with the ex out of the picture, what were the investigators working with?
Well, they found some interesting forensic evidence. For one, there was DNA under Maxine's fingernails.
DNA. That's got to be a slam dunk, right? Catch the killer.
You'd think so, but it wasn't a match to anyone in the system.
Wait, what? How is that even possible?
Well, there's always the chance of what we call secondary transfer. That DNA could have come from someone Maxine interacted with earlier in the day, like a handshake or something. It doesn't necessarily mean that person was the attacker.
Okay, so maybe not a direct link to the killer, but still a lead, right?
Right, something to follow up on. They also found an unidentified fingerprint on a broken glass near her body.
Another dead end.
Pretty much. They ran it through all the databases. Nothing.
This is starting to sound like one of those cases that just, goes cold. But wait, wasn't there something about security footage?
Oh, right. A neighbor had a security camera that caught a glimpse of someone lurking near Maxine's front door around 11:30 that night, about half an hour before she was likely killed.
So close to the estimated time of death, that's got to be significant.
It is, but the footage is grainy. They couldn't get a positive ID.
Talk about frustrating. So where does that leave us with the motive? Any theories?
Well, investigators have been looking into Maxine's work. She dealt with some, let's say, difficult people as a social worker, abusers, people with violent histories. It's possible she made an enemy somewhere along the line.
Someone who wanted revenge.
It's definitely a possibility. Maybe someone she helped put away or someone whose life she disrupted.
Chilling to think about.
Right.
So after all this time, Maxine's murder is still unsolved.
It is, and that's where our listeners might come in. Sometimes the smallest detail, something that seems insignificant, can be the key to cracking a case like this. Think back to that time. Were you in Maxine's neighborhood? Did you see anything unusual, anything that just felt off?
It's worth considering. What if you saw something but dismissed it? Maybe you saw that shadowy figure near her door, or noticed a car driving slowly by. Anything at all. It could be the missing piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. Even the smallest detail could be crucial. If you have any information, please contact the authorities. It could be what brings justice for Maxine and closure for your loved ones.
It's been years, but it's not too late to come forward.
Absolutely. And hopefully, with your help, we can finally shed some light on this tragic case.